Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. I hope you're all doing very, very well this Monday evening. Let's start off then with Game of Thrones spoilers. I'm only joking. I have seen it, but I would never tell you what's happened. But let's talk about Manchester United. Massive game coming up against Barcelona. Big developments in the dressing room and a transfer snippet that I think is going to be a reality this summer that we need to get your opinions on as well. But let's start off with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer press conference, reaction to that, just a few little bits. First of all, look, it looks potentially like Alexis Sanchez could start this game against Barcelona. And before I see all the, oh no, please, let's not do it, what did I say on the preview last night? I actually do think that Alexis Sanchez might be more relevant in a game like this than Anthony Martial or Jesse Lingard based on how they've played recently. Sanchez has lost a yard of pace. Sanchez is finished at the highest level. But what Alexis Sanchez does, he works tirelessly. And in this game, it's not going to be about flair. It's not going to be about running past players. It's going to be about hard work. And I think if Alexis Sanchez was willing to play on that right-hand side, which he just doesn't seem to be done, then I think that we would be laughing quite frankly. But it's very interesting, isn't it? Very interesting to see what's going to happen. And he did hint about it. I mean, what he actually said is he's been injured this season. He's not had a fantastic season. Let's hope he can end it great. And they're the words of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Very, very frank. You know, he has been injured a lot and he's not had a fantastic season. And for the best paid player in the Premier League, that's not good enough. But I don't believe Alexis Sanchez will be moved on from the club. And Paul Robinson says Sanchez against Barcelona, he will be hungry. You've got that ex-player thing. Remember, look, I don't like to give Mourinho any credit, but I'm sure it was him, or maybe I think it was actually Van Gaal, so that's even better. I think Van Gaal always said that when a player plays against their former club, I always want to pick them because they've got a point to prove. And I think that could be quite important if he is fit. Because, you know what, I don't think Martial's going to suit this game at all. I really don't think Martial will suit it. And Lingard, he can work hard, but he's not playing well at the moment. So maybe chucking in Alexis Sanchez in this game would be quite interestingly. Wayne Littlewood says he won't start 100%. Look, if I'm a betting man, I'd probably say he wouldn't start. But is Alexis Sanchez the player to come off the bench? No, I think if Alexis Sanchez is going to have any involvement in this game, it's probably better that he starts, because he's not a player who comes off the bench and makes an impact. He's not that sort of player anymore. He hasn't got that injection of pace, so I would start him. Adam Morris says, did you see Sanchez was in Llanduno with his dogs mark? Score prediction for tomorrow. My score prediction for tomorrow, I don't know whether I gave it on the preview, is I think we might lose 3 or 4-0, to be honest. I do think tomorrow is going to be a reality bite, yeah. I hope I'm wrong. I didn't think we were going to win in Paris, so I'm happy to be wrong on this, but I just think that we are miles away from being anywhere near good enough against Barcelona. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens with it. I'm hopeful, but I mean, look, that was the other thing I was going to say. Matic is back fit as well, and you know, I'm going to be totally honest with you. A big part of me, Arsenal are winning 1-0 against Watford as well, which is I feel Arsenal will win tonight. They need to win tonight. But what I was going to say is that in relation to this game against Barcelona, we've got Matic and we've got Alexis Sanchez back. And I think that potentially weakens us. I don't think Matic makes us any stronger. I really don't. I think that midfield of Fred, Pogba and McTominay is probably the best midfield three that we have at this moment in time. And I think Matic, a bit like Alexis Sanchez, when they're fit, there's almost this... There's almost that feel that you have to pick them, and that in itself can be quite frustrating because I don't think they are good enough. Welcome Raymar Ochoa, who is the latest member of the United Stand. How long do you think we have to wait until we have the old United back, says Sean Weaver? I think that's a very good question. It's something I was thinking about today. You know what? I think I was listening to Ian Holloway on Talk Sport, which is just how random it actually is for me to say this. But he said something that I actually totally agreed with, and he said that there are massive problems in the dressing room at Manchester United. And he's not like revealed something we didn't know there. I think, you know, we skirt around the issue. We talk about it a lot on this channel. But I think the job that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has at Manchester United is absolutely huge. It's massive, and it's very, very, very difficult. And I do believe that the and it's hard to know what players it is, but I do really believe that the problems in the dressing room are massive, absolutely massive. And whoever the influencers are in that dressing room, I think they need to be removed from that club. Now, a lot of people I think would speculate straight away, say, well, it's Pogba. It's definitely Pogba. I don't know who it is, and I don't know whether everybody knows who it is or not. But what Manchester United need to do, and we sort of touched on it a little bit before, is we need to change that dressing room mentality. We could go and win tomorrow night. Manchester United can beat anybody on their day, and that sounds ridiculous, but we can. But what we don't do is go to Huddersfield and win. What we don't do is go to Newcastle and win. What we don't do is, beat teams like Watford and West Ham convincingly at home. We get played off the park. So there is a massive long-term problem at Manchester United. I don't know whether it's a short-term problem. I suppose you could say it is, because at the weekend we saw it against West Ham, where this set of players can just disappear and massively, massively underachieve. And the reality is, we know the way that Mourinho wanted to play. It was very negative football, and that's why we lost a lot of games. We know the way Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants to play. It's fast, it's positive, and it's tenacious. But what we do see is that sometimes in some games these players don't respond to that. That, to me, is a long-term problem at Manchester United that is going to be very difficult for him to solve. And this is why, sort of over the last week, I've sort of said, and yet again today we see it with Paul Pogba from Spanish reports, that Real Madrid really, really want him. And this is why I've said, if he wants to go. And we will rebuild. It'll be a harder job without Pogba. Of course it will. He's one of the best midfielders in the world, and I truly believe that. But if he doesn't want to be part of this project, then he's got to be moved on. And that's the same for any player at the club. Of course it is. But that squad, and I can't name names, but there are problems in that squad. There are problems in that dressing room that need addressing. And whether it is bringing the right sort of 2 or 3 players in with the right sort of mentality to get that squad sorted. But, people spend a lot of time talking about Jesse Lingard and Marcus Rashford and how great they are because they're local lads and they've come through the youth setup. Well, they're obviously not that influential in the dressing room, are they? Because if they get what this club's about and they know what this club's about, why are they and others consistently putting in poor performances? And I think that there is a problem at Manchester United Football Club, and we've had it for a few years now, that playing squad lacks something. In a best case scenario, in a worst case scenario, I think it's quite cancerous. I think there are probably divides. There is apathy. There is arrogance. And I think that is something that's going to take a while to sort out. But it was sort of a realisation for me today. As much as I like a lot of these players, and as much as I was happy that Mourinho went and Solskjaer came in, I think what we're now seeing is, Mourinho had to go. His style of football was terrible. So was Van Gaal's. Solskjaer has shown us the way he wants to play, and on occasions these players won't turn up and do it, and that just epitomises the problem at United. Upstairs we've got a problem, but also in the playing squad there is a problem. There are players in that team who will just not turn up, and that needs to change. Adam Morris says, I think Matic would do well tomorrow in a back 3. I'm not going to agree with that comment, to be honest with you, but each your own. Apparently the audio was dropped a little bit. Let me just check that for you. Yeah, we're having a few computer problems today. Yes, it has dropped. Thanks for that. I don't know why. Still suffering with a bloody cold again. Apparently it's 1-1 in the Watford game. United lack playmakers, says Mustafa Ahmed. You know what? I don't think that... Glyn says stop blaming Mourinho. I don't even want to talk about Mourinho, Glyn. He's an absolute prick. In fact, you know what, Glyn? I hope you're one of those people who likes Mourinho, because he's gone. He's not manager of this club anymore, so suck on that. Stick your Mourinho sherbet lemon in your mouth and suck on it, you bitter git, because he's gone. I don't even want to hear about Mourinho. I don't want to hear people talking about Mourinho anymore. I think it's pathetic, the amount of Manchester United fans on social media sticking up for Mourinho. He was a crap manager, an arrogant manager. He was Mourinho United, full of bullshit, and there are still United fans out there sticking up for him who clearly need to go to Specsavers because they didn't watch the shit football that we had. You know, West Ham played us off the park at Old Trafford. They did. That was down to the players really just not turning up. When West Ham beat us at their ground 3-1, that was maybe to do with the players not turning up, but it was also to do with the fact that we played Scott McTominay as a centre-back and parked the bus. There are levels to how shit Mourinho had us. Anyway, I also want to talk about... This is the one I really want to talk about. I've mentioned this before. It's still 1-0 to Arsenal, actually. Sorry. I'm not going to take note of the live comments anymore for score updates. Apologies. What I want to say to you is that in relation to signings this summer, there are 3 signings that I think you should take real note of. And I'm not going to confirm that they're going to happen, because they might happen, they might not happen. But there's 3 signings that I've sort of... Well, one of them is a prediction. 2 of them I've been told of. The prediction is Costas Manolas. He's back in the news again today. He is, I think he's 27, coming up for 28, Roma centre-back, Greek. He's a player that I wanted us to sign 2 or 3 years ago. And he is the... Charlie Harrison, bye-bye. You're just annoying. See you later, mate. I think Arsenal are going to win anyway, because Watford are down to 10 men, and those sort of decisions can really really make a big difference for you, can't they, in those games? But what I was going to say is that, look, Costas Manolas, he is a player who I would not want at Manchester United. And the bottom line is, the reason I wouldn't want him at Manchester United is because he's not one of the top 10 centre-backs in world football. And that is what Manchester United need. They need a centre-back who is one of the best in the business. And Adel07 says, get Manolas and Alderweireld. Nicholas Pepe, I heard, says Chloe Jenkins. I think he's going to Bayern Munich. But... yeah, I mean, I sort of agree with Bio20. He says he's the Greek Mustafi. He's not one of the top 10 centre-backs in the world. I don't know where you would rank Manolas. Maybe he's in the 10 to 20, but he's not in the top 10. Manchester United, this is a board issue. This is a board issue, and this worries me because it was mentioned in the January transfer window. Costas Manolas has a release clause of £32 million that activates this summer. His agent is Mino Raiola. He's available for £32 million in the summer. I think Manchester United are going to be all over this for the wrong reasons yet again. He's cheap, he's a centre back, and that's what they haven't got to pay 80 million. And I think that's a signing that's really, really worrying me. Really, really worrying me. We need a dominant centre back. Do you think Liverpool, when they needed a centre back, went, ooh, Van Dijk's 75 million, but let's go and get some other half as good centre back because he's half as cheap? It's a small club mentality, but this is the sort of ownership that we have. They'll think, ooh, we're going to spend a lot of money on other players, so let's go cheap on this on as many players that we can, so then we can get more players in. But I don't think the centre back is the position where you go cheap. And also, Costas Manolas is 28 next. Koulibaly is around the same age, but Koulibaly is one of the top centre-backs in the world. I would go for that experience because of that. Costas Manolas, I mean, you could say he's a Greek Chris Smalling. I don't think he's that good. He's good, but he's not a top world-class centre-back. And that's what worries me about this. United board saving money again. Oh, you need a centre-back? We found one for you. And it worries me. It worries me because we need better than that. We need better than Costas Manolas. Even though, if you look on the videos 2 or 3 years ago, I was saying, let's go and get him. The centre-backs that we had 2 or 3 years ago, it wasn't as desperate a situation as it is now. We desperately need a world-class centre-back. The path has been trodden by the likes of Liverpool and others who bring in a top-class centre-back, and it makes a big difference. And Costas Manolas, it really worries me that this is going to happen because it's just saving money and it's a massive indication of what the problem is with our board. I hope Ed watched Slaven Bilic on BT. Did you? Says Fangoria80. I did. He was talking about the transfers, of course. And that's interesting in itself, but we'll have to wait and see, I suppose, what happens with that. We'll look, the other two transfers I've heard about as well are Bruno Fernandes and Jadon Sancho are players that really, really do interest Manchester United at an advanced stage. So that one would be a massive interest for me. Bruno Fernandes is a bit left field. I think that he's doing fantastically well in the Portuguese league. And I also think if we went for Bruno Fernandes, we'd be saying goodbye to Paul Pogba, which I think is rather interesting in itself. But Jadon Sancho would solve the right-hand side problem. I mean, a lot of people say, well, he's young, he's still got development in him. Have you seen our right-hand side at the moment? It's absolutely terrible. Marco Antonio King says, Alderweireld and Koulibaly for 100 million would do wonders. Well, we're not going to sign 2 centre-backs. I can tell that straight away. 100% we won't sign 2 centre-backs because we've just signed Smalling and Jones on long-term contracts. Lindelof's not going anywhere, so that's 3 senior centre-backs. Bay will probably move on. Rojo might move on. We will bring one in, and then you've got Twansibi as well. We won't sign Alderweireld and Koulibaly and then have Lindelof, Smalling and Jones kicking their heels. We just won't do that. So it'll be one or the other. I would take Alderweireld over Costas Manolas, by the way. I'm opposed to us getting Alderweireld because he is 31 next, but he's better than Costas Manolas. I just think that's the sort of signing that will annoy me because it's just totally about him being cheap. If Costas Manolas was 75 million quid, would we sign him? And that's, I wish I'd said that at the start actually. If Costas Manolas was 75 million pound, do you think we'd be going after him? No. We're going after him because he's cheap. And should Manchester United be going after people because they're cheap when we are miles behind the best clubs in England and miles behind the best teams in Europe? No. If you want to fill that gap, you've got to go out and get the best. And you don't do that by buying players just because they are cheap. And that's what worries me about that. Very sad about Notre Dame Cathedral burning, RTG. Culture vulture and all that lot, but it's very, very sad. Can't believe what's happened. Yeah, a few people are saying that. It's horrible. That was built in the 1100s as well. Just ridiculous, isn't it? What do you think of Coke from Atletico, says Alex Bursell. I don't think we'll be in for him in a sentence. And CDL Bro says, your thoughts on Lindelof being linked as captain? I think that Manchester United need to remove whatever the cancer is in that dressing room and build a new team. I was speaking about this a few minutes for those who've joined us late. There is a problem with Manchester United's dressing room, and I think we all need to accept that. You cannot have a team that consistently will play well against the big... I mean, look at Man City last year. We beat them, we're 2-0 down at half-time, and we're dreadful. Second half, we come out and play superb for 45 minutes, and we win it. The very next week, we play West Brom at home, and we lose 1-0. You look at United under Ollie. We have 3 months of really, really good football, and then he gets given the job, and then the players just look like a bunch of strangers who can't be arsed again. This is an issue for Manchester United. There is an issue at Manchester United. Those players, and I don't know who they are. So it's not like I'm criticising Pogba, Martial, Phil Jones, Ashley Young. I don't know. But there are not enough leaders in that club. And we seem to value experience like Ashley Young. Well, Ashley Young, I've said it before, he can't, I'm getting tired of saying this, could not lead a pack of ants to a picnic and clearly couldn't do that. It doesn't matter how many years he's been here, he's clearly a crap captain and a crap leader because that dressing room is terrible. How can Manchester United Football Club put 11 players out at Old Trafford against Watford and against West Ham and put in the performances that we've seen that don't reflect clearly what the coaching staff are doing or what the coaching staff was doing in the first 3 months? They feel, whether it's they're feeling the pressure now, whether they're bottlers, whether they're weak-minded, I don't know. Whether there's willful neglect and arrogance in the dressing room, I don't know. What we do know is that there is a problem with that squad. And I've been saying this for years. You can't trust that Manchester United team. You don't know whether they're going to go out tomorrow night against Barcelona and win 2-1 or whether they're going to go and get... And then go to Everton and get beat 4-0. You just don't know what you're going to get with United, which is really weird because a lot of clubs, you know what you're going to get. Consistently shit or very, very good. But with United, we are consistently inconsistent. And that has to reflect on the players' mentality. And it's weird because you see someone like Paul Pogba on the clips in the World Cup run and he's stood there with them all around the table saying, come on, we do this. And you see a real leader. Well, why don't we see that in a Manchester United shirt? Pogba can do that. So if I was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I mean, I've said this, patience. I'm willing to be patient, and I'm willing to back Solskjaer on whatever he decides to do. And if he this summer said, you know what, Martial can go, Lingard can go, Pogba can go, I would think they're the problem. That's why they're going. So I trust Ole to get it right. I don't want any of those players to go, by the way. But if there is a big shock in the summer, whether it's a De Gea, whether it's a Pogba, whether it's a Martial, if one of those players goes in the summer, then I'm going to trust that they are an issue. whether it's their lack of leadership or whatever. I am going to trust him on that, because I don't know about you lot, I'm becoming quite tired with this United's inconsistency. I don't think it's acceptable to be at home at Old Trafford and put in the performances that we are consistently seeing. What do you think about MBS, the Saudi billionaire, taking over United? Would we get our signings then, says Cecil Diaz? Look, if we get taken over by billionaires, they will spend money at Manchester United, which I think for a lot of people is the be-all and end-all. I think we've spoken about it before, it opens up the moral dilemma, of course it does, and I'm undecided on it. I mean, the reality is with Manchester United, we've skipped past the ideal. The ideal would be that Manchester United are run by people who support the club, who want to make money, but also want to put that money into the club as well. So they take a certain amount of profit, but they also put a lot of money back into the club. The situation we've got at the moment is we've got these Glazers who bought the club on debt, which never should have been allowed, and they are mainly focused, and they still haven't paid that debt off. They've got no, they don't want to pay that debt off because they take the money out of the club and they keep the debt and they keep the repayments. They take more money out of the club than they put in. They see us as a cash cow, and they use Manchester United as a cash cow taking money out. The problem is, anybody who buys us now has either got to be obscenely rich billionaire who just wants to own Manchester United for the status and wants to chuck money at it, because you are never going to get somebody now, I think, who is a Manchester United fan who just wants to buy the club and make a bit of money from it, but also be, turn it into because Manchester United makes so much money that we could spend a lot of money every summer and still be in a profit. So I suppose the answer to the question, therefore, is, do you want the Glazers to be in charge, or do you want a billionaire to be in charge? And to be honest with you, I think I've probably about had enough of the Glazers. I really do. I think that they are nothing short of, and I say this in the nicest possible way, they are nothing short of businessmen who are not Manchester United fans, who bought this club on debt and have bled it dry of money over many years. And they've done some good things, but ultimately, the money we spend is nowhere near competitive, especially in the last few years, and some of their decisions have not been good enough. Zachary Purvis, I don't want Sancho. It makes us no difference from City, who we slated for letting him leave to sign other people. Give our own youth a chance. Well, it's interesting about the youth. Fangoria is talking about Slaven Bilic and his empowerment comments. Well, he's just basically saying that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer needs to be empowered as Manchester United manager. And I think, what Slaven Bilic said was very, very good, actually. Let's just come back to that. And then we'll talk about the youth. This is essential. And I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I actually benefited from the power of Pogba at Manchester United, because it became very clear around August time that Manchester United, Paul Pogba and Mourinho weren't getting on. And Chloe Jenkins says ugly Fukas too. Laugh out loud. I don't know what she's talking about. But it was clearly Pogba versus Mourinho last August. And the rumours coming out from United were that they would sack Mourinho over disciplining Pogba, because Pogba was seen as the big thing. And I think, I'm going to put my hands up and say at the time, I preferred Pogba to Mourinho, and that was beneficial. However, in the situation we have now, and I make no apologies for that, because Mourinho was a cancer to Manchester United. His brand of football, his arrogance, he didn't understand what we were about, and it was only going to keep getting worse and worse. But in this situation now, I want Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to be the manager. I think he understands what Manchester United are all about, and there cannot be, and Slaven Bilic is right, there cannot be this power at Manchester United with players. Paul Pogba cannot be more influential than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer needs to be the number one man, and I want that. I wanted it with Mourinho, but he blew it, and I think he was coming towards the end at the time. But with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he has to be the man. He has to be the main man at Manchester United, and he must be empowered. And I don't know whether that is the case or not, because there's also rumours from the club that Ed Woodward is besotted by Galacticos. This is the concern about signing Gareth Bale in the summer. This is the concern about what I'm saying there. Is he so far up people like Paul Pogba's backside that he would back them over the manager? But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer must be number one. Number one. There's no doubt about that in my mind. You cannot have players. And as I've said before, I said this last night, if Paul Pogba walks into Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's dressing room, don't do that, office, and says, I'll stay for another year. Because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer spoke about Pogba today in the Real Madrid links, and he said something on the lines of, I wouldn't be too worried about it. I think Pogba will be here for another year. But if this is a scenario, and this is only hypothetical, if Paul Pogba says to United, I'm happy to stay for another year, but next summer I want to go, unless we win the league, I would let him go now. Because we're not winning the league next year. So all you're getting is Paul Pogba for another year. And that we need Paul Pogba for another 5 years. We don't need Pogba for another year. If Pogba's going to go next summer, get rid of him now and start the build now. This is where fan opinion will differ, because this is where patience defines you. How patient are you? Because if Pogba wants to go next summer, not this summer, I would get rid of him now. Because I'd be like, well, get to 150, 200 million and build now. And let's have next season as the building year. Because I don't see the point in retaining players who are looking to go in a year or two anyway. We need to build for the future, and we need players who want to do that. And Paul Pogba is one of the best midfielders in the world, but I would rather have a Bruno Fernandes or an Ndombele or a couple of others who are not as good as Pogba, but they are committed and they want to be here for a long, long time. I think that's really important in my mind. And I think my mentality has changed a lot. I think that I am patient and I am focused on United solving this dressing room problem and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer being the kingpin at Manchester United. But to do that, we're going to have to remove players. And I don't know who those players are. You know, Alexis Sanchez could be a negative influence in the dressing room. They've got to be removed from the club. He's got to get that dressing room in sync with him. And you think about the ideal in sync, it would be Sir Alex Ferguson, Roy Keane. They were basically manager on the pitch, manager on the touchline, in sync. United need to get back to that. And Ole will know that because he was part of that team. He needs his opinion and his leadership on that football pitch, and at the moment he's not getting it. Craig McCullough Games HD, why do United sign 30-year-olds plus we should be bringing players from the youth and signing potential talents, not 30-plus rejects? I agree, Craig. I really do agree. I think you're spot on with that. And Chloe Jenkins, Fergie wasn't impressed with Pogba. Well, there's a bit of a myth about that. Because Paul Pogba... people say that Sir Alex Ferguson got rid of Paul Pogba from Manchester United. He didn't. Paul Pogba was out of contract and went to Juventus, and he wouldn't sign a contract because he didn't want to be patient. He got pissed off and he went. United wanted him to stay. Sir Alex Ferguson wanted him to stay, and it was his choice to go to Juventus because he was out of contract. So there is a bit of a myth about that one. On relation to the youth, it's very interesting that we've named a 22-man squad for the Barcelona game. One of those 22 is Luke Shaw, who can't even play, so it's just about morale. But you look at that squad, I don't think Greenwood's part of it, but Garner, Chong, Gomez, not part of it. And yet again, I'm not going to be... I've said this before, I want Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as Manchester United manager, and he is. And I back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and I'm going to be patient with him. But it would be very unfair, because look how critical I am of Mourinho and Moyes and Van Gaal. Just because I like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I can't not be critical about things that concern me. And I think patience is important. Let's see what happens next summer. But we forever hear about youth. Ed Woodward said youth when he was appointing Solskjaer as manager. Ole mentions youth a lot. And it's bullshit, because it's not being used. It isn't being used enough. And my big 2 points with this are, when is the ideal game? Because people will say, oh, Barcelona away is not the time for youth. Well, opening day of the season, when you're defending the title away to Aston Villa, that's not the time for youth. We lost 3-1 with the class of 92, and he continued to use it. There is no ideal game for youth. There isn't one. They're either good enough or they're not good enough, or you don't play them. And maybe that's what Solskjaer thinks. They're not good enough. They're not ready. I don't know. But my counter argument to that is you are taking people like Marcus Rojo, Juan Mata, Darmian, and a few others who've been consistently crap in a United shirt, and you're telling me Angel Gomez can't offer us more than Juan Mata can, and Chong won't offer us more than Lingard at the moment, and Greenwood won't offer us more than Lukaku. That's my issue with it. I think we're not taking youth because we're like, oh, it's too big a game for them. But then you're taking crap who've been consistently crap, Deadwood, and that's my issue with it. I think the youth should be more involved. I think now's the perfect time to get them involved. The innocence of youth, they're not bothered, get them involved. All right, they might be on the bench, but United's problem is this: it's always the same fucking 22. It's the same 22 that piss me off. It's the Matters, it's the Rojos, it's the Darmians, it's the Jones. The same players who have been consistently letting us down for a long time. It's not exciting, it's boring, it's deadwood. And we need to move away from that. And maybe we will, and maybe we won't. But that's something we'll have to watch out in the summer as well. And it really, one player that really pains me to say that about is Juan Mata. Because I love Juan Mata, but he's crap. He's crap at United now. He got took off after 54 minutes against West Ham. All season, first game of the season against Leicester, destroyed by Chilwell. I think he played in the Brighton game, destroyed. Burnley, destroyed. West Ham, destroyed. I mean, this is Juan Mata at home at Old Trafford in a lot of those games. He just doesn't offer anything for us now. And we might be giving him a new contract. And I think that's the mistake we're making. It goes back to what Craig McCullough Games HD was saying as well. That's the mistake we're making. We need to move away from these end of their career declining players. And, you know, they're not playing well. That's the point. If they were playing well, you'd have an argument. But they're declining end of the career players and they're playing crap, like your Ashley Young. And then you've got players at the start of their careers, like a Chong, like a Greenwood, who, yeah, they might not play great every game, but they can't, you know, Ashley Young's not playing well every game. And I know it's different positions, but the point is, I'd rather have a young player playing and being inconsistent than an old... It's like Dalot and Young. Is there a lot of difference between Dalot and Young? Well, Dalot's crossing ability is 10 times better than Young. His energy, his physicality. Defensively, I think they're both quite weak. But we should be playing Dalot every week, because Ashley Young's 34 and crap. You know, he's only going to get worse. Dalot is only going to get better at 19. And I think that mentality does need to change at United. And it's going to be interesting to see over the next few months if and when that happens, because it gets spoken about a lot, but there isn't a lot of evidence of youth being used at United at the moment. And I don't know why that is, because McKenna was involved in the youth. Carrick knows about the use of youth at United, and so does Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But at the moment, there seems to be a reluctance to use it. And maybe that they are falling into that trap of, the games are too important to chuck youth in. But when you're not chucking them in and you're relying on the Matters, the Youngs, the Jones, the Rojos, the Darmians, well, they failed you loads of times before and they're finished. Surely it's better to have a youth player in, but that's just my opinion. I have got a cold, NASA Space. Thanks for joining that around. Thanks for clarifying something very obvious for us. Disappointing then, it looks like Arsenal are going to win, isn't it? I mean, Troy Deeney sent off very early on. That's the sort of look, you know, when do we get that? When do United go away from home? I bet when we're against Everton at the weekend, do you think Seamus Coleman will get sent off in the first 20 minutes when we're 1-0 up? It's just, but this is the problem when you drop points in games like Wolves and stuff like that. Football's a funny old game and little things can go the way of others, and Arsenal now are probably going to get a very good 3 points away to Watford. I think they're home to Crystal Palace on Sunday, and then they've only got 2 or 3 other games away from home that are going to be problematic for them. So, yeah, it is interesting, but it is what it is. It is what it is. But massively looking forward to the game tomorrow night against Barcelona. Expectations are low. I wouldn't say they're low, they're realistic. You never know. And to be honest with you, as I said before, it is a massive experience. How many times do you get to see United, whether you're going to the game or watching it on TV in the Nou Camp? I mean, that was the brilliance of the PSG result. And if we go out tomorrow night or we don't go out tomorrow night, we should always remember that PSG experience, because that afforded us this opportunity. I think Barcelona will be too strong for us. I don't think the evidence backs up that United are going to get a result tomorrow. They can do it though. This is the weird thing about United. On their day they can beat anybody, but on their day they can lose to anybody. And recently our form has been terrible, absolutely terrible. So let's see what we do tomorrow. I suspect we won't be good enough, but who knows? Who knows? You never know. Age is just a number, Mark. Have faith in Young, says George Ramos. He's shit, mate. I'm sorry. I won't be having any faith in him. Harry Walker says the under-23 games has been great. Greenwood just scored a cracking free kick to add to his assist. Burkhardt 2 goals. Chong 1. Gomez 2 assists. Gladnon travelled to Barca because they're getting to stay sharp. Oh, that's a good point. Remember to smash a like on the video, everybody. Lots of people watching. Remember, tomorrow we've got Flex and Rants going up at 1 o'clock, and then we'll be live around 7 o'clock tomorrow night for the watch-along. Flex is in Barcelona, so we'll have fan cams for that. Smash a like on the video. Remember, you can join the United Stand Members Club now. There's a join button where you get your access to the emojis for the game tomorrow. If you look at Dante Gerard's comment, he's a member. He's got the little badge next to his name in green, and also he can use the exclusive emojis. Click the join button if you want to do that. And also just a shout out to the United Stand merch. Adidas United Stand FC equipment. We've got hoodies. We've got the United Stand home and away shirts. We've got t-shirts. So, yeah, a lot of people have been asking that for a while. If you want to get yourself a polo shirt or a United Stand football kit or whatever, the link is in the video description for that. But do give it a look because the quality is absolutely brilliant. And as you see, I wear it all the time now because it's lovely stuff. Anyway, link in the video description for that. I'll see you tomorrow.